Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Three Keys to Captivate and Convert Your Audience with Your Slide. My name is Stephanie Unger, and I'm so grateful to be here with you today. So, you lovely ladies, we are going to be talking all about slides today. And I would love to know in the chat, pop a yes in there if you ever get frustrated because you don't see much engagement going on. Yes. And does it feel overwhelming for you when you present or even to create those slides for your presentations and webinars? Pop a yes in there if that's you. And how about your conversions? Catherine's like, my assistant does them. What about your conversion rates? Do you wish you were converting more people and having them take you up on your offers at the end of your master classes and webinars? Chart as always, absolutely. Elizabeth says, yeah. So, you ladies are in the right place. When I deliver my webinars and master classes, I have always, this is something about me. People have always complimented my presentations. They're engaging, they're fun throughout my whole entire career. This is something that they've just always complimented me about. And I do tend to get, I feel I get more engagement from my audience than when I go to a lot of master classes. And when it comes to converting, when people do take me up on my offers, it is a simple logistics call. It is how much do you charge and how do we work together? There's really like no sales. People get on the phone or get on the Zoom with me and are like, yeah, I want to work with you. How do we do this? How do we make this happen? But it wasn't always like that. See, years ago, after I graduated from college, I live above New York City, and I was dead set working in the music industry, which I did for about 2 years. But the environment became so toxic, I just up and quit. And I didn't have a plan. Anybody ever been there? You just knew you had to get out. Yeah. I had no clue what I was going to do. And a good friend of mine, because I was fresh, I was new out of college, said, well, why don't you temp? You're in New York City. You can see any industry. You can figure out what you want to be when you grow up. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went and I registered with a temp agency. And when you do that, they go ahead and they test all your skill levels and blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. And then they send you out on assignments. And they were sending me out on assignments, but they were sent. Now, this friend of mine actually worked at MTV. And she said she got her job at MTV from working in it as a temp. And I was like, okay, cool. So I registered with the same agency and everything, knowing they had big, huge clients. They started sending me out on these jobs, but they were just giving me receptionist roles where all I was doing was answering phones and making photocopies. And it was small, little, nothing companies, a dry cleaner, an accountant, all of these little jobs. And I'm like, what is going on? And it started to really play with my self-esteem. I was like, week after week, I'm not getting the jobs that Viacom or MTV or any of these big HBO, like they were all headquartered in New York City. Why am I not working at these big companies? And it started to really play with my self-worth. And I was like, what is going on? So after about 2 months of this, I mustered up the courage to ask my agency. I went in to pick up my paycheck and I was like, they gave me my next assignment as a receptionist. And it took a lot of courage, but I sat there and I asked, why am I not getting the better jobs? Why are you not sending me to the bigger companies? And at first they gave me this like nonsense answer, and I delved a little deeper, and they were like, well, your testing scores aren't there. And I was like, or your, and I was like, what are you talking about? My last job, I was promoted to web designer. Now this is before Google. So I went from being their receptionist to assistant to web designer. Like, I have a lot of technical skills. And they were like, your PowerPoint scores aren't there. And I was like, okay. So I left the office, and as I walked back to Grand Central, the story really stuck with me that I wasn't good enough. That feeling that I wasn't good enough. And when I got to Grand Central Station that night and I got on the train, normally I would sit in an aisle seat, but that night I sat against the window so that nobody could see the tears in my eyes, because I heard I wasn't good enough. And I get off the train, wipe my tears, and I call my mom crying. And after I tell her the story, she goes, hold up. That's not what they said to you. They didn't say you're not good enough. They said that your skills aren't showcasing what you are really capable of. And that is an easy fix. So, with the support of my mom, I went, I got myself some training, I retested, and I started to get the better jobs. And I worked at companies like Ketchum Public Relations, and I worked at companies like Kraft Foods, and I worked at companies like Juvenile Diabetes, and became their event planner, and became their project manager, and all of these things. But it was only because I had the skill set to show off what I was really capable of. And today, I mean, I created PowerPoint presentations for all of these companies and more, and of course for myself. And today, I know how to create presentations that make that impact, that get the engagement from the audience, that that actually convert people into clients. And I know that is possible for you as well. If you're ready to take your presentations to the next level, to create these slides that can really showcase what you're capable of and how you can help people, pop a me in the chat, because it would be an honor to show you how you can do it. Elizabeth's ready. Sharda's ready. Catherine, you ready? Yes. Everybody's ready. Awesome. All right. So we are going to share my screen. Okay. Everybody see that nice big slide? Yeah, cool. All right. So 3 keys. Just a couple of housekeeping tips. Sorry. Agree this is a safe space. We're going to keep information confidential. Refrain from multitasking. I invite you to turn your phones off or on do not disturb at this time. Use the chat, keep your video on if possible. If you have questions, pop question really big in the chat so it calls out to me when we get to the Q&A. If you get any tech glitches, just jump right back in, and have a pen and a piece of paper, because I'm sure you're going to want to take notes during this. Now, the 3 things that I talked about in the beginning and the questions I asked you are actually the 3 top concerns by both audiences and speakers. And that is visual impact. So today I'm going to take you through understanding the visual impact your slides have, increasing engagement, and how to retain the audience's attention. Now, anybody here ever try to cut a steak? Yeah. Which of these two knives, the top one or the bottom one, is it easier for you to cut that steak with? Which one is easier for you to cut the steak with? The bottom one, right? Elizabeth says bottom. Yeah, the bottom one, because it's designed to actually cut the steak, right? That's why it's easier. But what I see a lot of presenters doing is they don't use the slides the way they're supposed to. Okay. So I want to start us off today with getting an understanding of the purpose of why you want a slideshow. Okay. Cool. Everybody good with this? Thumbs up. Yep. All right. Awesome. So I'm just going to run through this pretty quickly. The purpose of slides are really to have a visual aid, but there's more than that. It's to help stay organized, not just you, but your audience stay organized. You can create slides that help create engagement. The presentation should be able to demonstrate or illustrate the points that you're trying to make. Your slides can help persuade people or influence them. A memory aid, people recalling memory stuff. It can also spark discussion. And anybody ever get copies of the PDFs afterwards when they've attended a presentation? Yeah, we all have. Yeah, as a reference tool. So with that being said, let's dig into the visual aid. Oh, before we do that, so your presentation can do all of these things, and it should be doing most of this work for you, if not all of it. Okay. So let's delve into the visual impact and really understanding the visual impact a little bit better. This quote by Maya Angelou is one of my favorites. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will not forget how you made them feel. Anybody resonate with this? Yeah. Elizabeth's got both hands going. Woo-hoo. Right. And I am actually writing a fiction novel. And when I decided to write the fiction novel, there was I know all about protagonists and antagonists and mapping out your chapters and knowing what each of them are thinking and feeling, doing during each chapter of the book. But I always felt like there was something missing. And that missing piece, after this masterclass I took, this speaker said, you got to realize how you're making people feel during that chapter. What do you want your audience to feel? Not just what do you want the protagonist and what do you want the antagonist to be feeling and thinking? What do you want your audience to be thinking and feeling? That was my light bulb moment. I literally had the light bulb go on over my head. When it comes to your presentations, it's about the audience. Okay. And as my mentor says, people need to know, like, and trust you before they invest with you. And as a speaker, because you are selling transformation, this is even more important. I mean, if you're selling dish soap, that's one thing. But if you're selling transformation, people really need to get to know, like, and trust you before they invest with you. So let's focus on this for a minute. And I'd love to bring up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're not familiar with this, I'm just going to run through it very quickly. Pretty popular theory that we all have 5 needs through this life. As people, the first is the physiological, which is our home, our clothes, our food. Then is our safety. And our safety is our physical, emotional, and our financial safety. Then is love and belonging. That's your friends, your family, your community. Your esteem, which is your respect, your confidence, your money. And then your self-actualization, which is your growth, your self-expression, and your happiness. Where on this chart do you think people need to be in order for them to invest with you? Oops. Just pop in the chat. You can put self in if you want, think it's the top one, if you esteem. Where do you think in Maslow's hierarchy of needs your audience really needs to feel in order to invest? Safety, Sharda says. Safety. Yes, Elizabeth. Yeah. That's what I believe too. People need to feel safe with you. Safe is where that trust is going to come in. So I like to play this little game. Would you rather eat pancakes number 1 or pancakes number 2? Which of the two? You pop in the chat. 2. Catherine's like, I'm eating 2. Everybody wants to eat 2, right? Right. Have you ever heard the expression, we eat with our eyes first? Chefs all over the world know this. And this is why they spend so much time creating these amazing dishes and spending the time on the presentation over like how to put it all to, putting all the flavor profiles together. Because we take in information from the world around us through our 5 senses. And over 80% comes in from our eyes. You didn't smell those pancakes. You didn't taste those pancakes. You didn't touch them. But you knew that pancakes too were probably going to taste better. Right? That's because our eyes actually have amygdala cells, which is what sparks our fight or flight response. So that we didn't even have to think about it. No, we're not even like, we just saw them and like, no, one's no good, right? The brain processes these images so fast, it's milliseconds. It bypasses our thought process. And we process images faster than we do text. So when it comes to communication, if you are using slides, I want you to really remember something. This is the breakdown of communication and how we take in information. Only 7% is our words. 38% is the tone of our voice. And 55% is the body language we use. Can you ever tell if somebody was lying to you because they got like fidgety or nervous or whatever? It was their body that gave them away. Yes, you're all shaking your heads. Yes, right? You knew. It wasn't the tone of their voice. It wasn't the words they were saying. It's like, you lied and you know it. Right? If you are using slides in your presentations, essentially your slides are your body language. Because you're a little tiny blip on their screen, right? So your slides can help you build the trust factor with your audience. It can help foster that environment of safety, right? And that's where we want people to be. We want the audience to feel safe. So really quick in the chat, how are you feeling right now? Are we feeling 1, 2, 3? Are we feeling anxious, calm? Everybody feeling pretty calm, calm, calm. Awesome. I'm going to show you a slide. I'm going to show it to you for about 3 seconds. Don't worry about reading the slide. Just tune into how you feel when you see this slide. Okay? So here's the slide. Don't worry about reading it. Sharda covered her eyes. All right. So how do we feel now that we saw that? Overwhelmed, confused, anxious. It made my head hurt. Yeah. That was a real slide from a presenter that I saw about 10 years ago. So It was just a snapshot. But it was to give you that knowledge of how we can make people feel, easily make people feel during our presentations. And we do it, we're not even conscious of it. We're like, oh no, we got to give them this information. Right? So did your trust in that presenter increase or decrease after seeing that slide? Or you could use a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever. Thumbs down. Everybody's doing thumbs down. Yeah, your trust decreased. So are you more likely or less likely to buy? Less likely. You're all like, yeah. The way you present your material has a direct effect on whether or not people are going to buy from you. Now, what I showed you was an extreme example of how presenters do this all the time. They overwhelm, confuse, and make the audience feel anxious. From the backgrounds they use to the fonts, not just the font, the color, the style, the amount of words on the slide, the layout, the way they're laying their slides out, all of this has an impact. And because we are processing things so quickly, it bypasses our thought process. So in my boot camp, I teach you how to create this environment of safety so that your audience doesn't have their fight or flight response triggered. Because again, we want our audiences feeling safe with us. And I love what Patty said about my program. She's relatively new to making slides. She wanted to make a positive impact on her audience. She now clearly understands how to make a presentation that's impactful and how to make it fun and interesting for her audience. So pop the word eyes in the chat if you now understand how important the visuals are. Yeah, eyes, eye. Everyone's you guys got a clear understanding of how the visuals impact your conversion rates. All right, let's move on to the second key, which is engagement. Who would like more engagement? Everybody wants more engagement, right? Well, the first step in creating that engagement is people need to feel safe. If they don't feel safe visually, they're not going to feel safe even putting things in the chat. Because again, people need to know, like, and trust you. But this is where, with the engagement piece, you really get people to like you because you're creating an environment of belonging and love with them. So anybody here ever attend a local craft fair, vendor fair, anything like that? We all have. Flea market. Who's seen this vendor? Everybody seen this girl? Yeah. How about this one? Have we all seen this girl? Yeah, we've seen both of these vendors. Now they're both selling very similar items. They both have beautiful scarves. Let's say they're priced the same. Who do you initially like more? Because again, our first impression is through the eye. So two? Everybody likes two? Yeah, we like two better. So who are you more likely to buy from? Number two. Yeah. We buy from people we like. People don't like you, they're not going to buy from you. And when you're doing your slides, especially on webinars and Zooms, this is you. That technical person is there on the thing because that's what you're doing, right? You're running the slideshow. So you want to create slides that represent number two, that are engaging. So how do we get people to like us? Well, this was a Google search, quick Google search. Use positive body language and talk and make eye contact. Be a good listener and ask questions. Share stories and show humor. Don't judge and talk in terms of the other person's interests. So if that's how we get people to like us, which one of these do you think creates engagement? Pop in the chat. Which number do we think creates engagement? Catherine says all of them. 5, 2. Elizabeth says, all right. In my opinion, the one that you can utilize slides the best with is number 2. Ask, and not being a good listener, but asking questions. When I first started my speaking business, becoming a speaker, it was like that aha. I was like, I've got to get better at engagement. I'm not that good at engagement. I'm like, I'm just going to create a slide. It's so easy to do. You could just create a slide to ask for the engagement with the audience. But here's the thing. Does the scenario sound familiar to anybody? You're at a cocktail party. You go up to get a drink for you and your friend. You meet a lovely lady. She compliments your dress. You compliment her shoes. You chit chat about how you know the host. And then all of a sudden, they ask you this crazy question. Like, when's the last time you had sex? And your head does that. Who's been there? Who's been like, yeah. And all you're doing is making an excuse and running away. And that's because your safety it wasn't safe for you to ask that question, which then it directly impacted that sense of love and belonging. When you're doing your presentations, it's like being at a cocktail party where you don't know anybody and they don't know you. There are ways to ask questions of your audience. If you're a relationship coach, knowing the last time they had sex is probably pretty important. But there's a way to ask that question. And I love teaching this part of my boot camp because my clients really start getting creative and they're like, oh, I could ask it this way, or I can ask a question that way, because I train you on the psychology to integrate with the technology so that you're getting that engagement. Once you've learned how to create that safe environment, then you can ask those questions, but there's a way to ask them as well. And again, those questions might be like this, not very engaging, or they could be, or those slides could look like that are very engaging. And we want your slides being engaging for the audience, right? So pop a question mark in the chat if you understand that in order to get more engagement, you have to ask questions to your audience. But just any old question is not going to do. You got to have that safe environment first. Question mark, question mark. Everybody's putting question marks in the chat. Beautiful. Take a quick sip of water there before we move on to audience allure. Anybody here ever multitask, play Candy Crush or whatever during a presentation? Yeah, we've all done it, right? It's one of the top complaints. What do you guys think the average attention span is? Pop in the chat. 8 seconds, 10 minutes, 47 seconds. Started saying 8 seconds. 47 seconds, Elizabeth says. 47. This is a little bit of a trick question. They're all right. I gave you no context to this. 8 seconds is about what you have to keep somebody's attention on social media. 10 seconds or 47 seconds is about how long you have to keep somebody's attention if you're sending them an email. And 10 minutes if it's a webinar or a podcast. Okay. And remember that your body language is 55%. If you're using slides, the body language, the slides are your body language. So what I want to do right now is do a quick exercise with you and see how quickly you zone out. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train going anywhere. Anybody start to zone out? You all did. That was about 10 seconds. And that's because you could not see my mouth moving. You couldn't see my hands moving. I kept my tone even. It was just the words. Do you see how important movement is? Yeah. Movement is huge. And if your slides are not moving, people are not going to have a positive impact. They're going to zone out, and it's really easy to lose people's attention. In fact, this is called a storyboard. In advertising, anybody ever see a commercial, TV commercial? We all have, right? This is what Madison Avenue does before they shoot a TV commercial. They do a visual of all the scenes that are being shot. This is a 30-second commercial, 30 seconds. And if you do the math quickly, there's 5 rows across and 3 rows down. That means there's 15 different scenes in this TV commercial, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a 30-second TV commercial. You've probably seen it before. It was a very famous Super Bowl ad. And I just want you to count the scenes in this 30-second commercial, okay? If my computer will work with me here. There we go. So count the scenes. Did I hit pause? Let's try this again. Sorry. Have we seen that commercial before? No? Oh, that was a Betty White stickers commercial. So Charlotte says there were 21. Elizabeth says 24. Catherine, 45. There were actually about 23, 24 scenes, depending on how you counted the scenes, which is less than 1 second per scene. Less than 1 second. That's what we're used to seeing. This is what we grew up with. So a few months ago, I went to a webinar. I was so excited to go to it. And I recreated this slide. The moderator speaker put the slide up on the screen, and she had the subject, and then she had her 4 topics, and she had all her speaking points. And are you guys like me and you write down everything you see on a slide? Yes. When you see slides like this, you're just like writing everything down quickly. Yes, that is what I did. Okay. After I did that, do you guys think I paid attention, went and played Candy Crush, or logged off and went and had dinner? Elizabeth says played Candy Crush. Let's see. Sharda, Catherine, you care to take a guess? Sharda says B. Catherine says A. You think I paid attention? No, I didn't pay attention. I played Candy Crush and went through all 5 of my lives. The only reason why I did not log off is because I knew there was going to be an offer made and I wanted to see how they presented the offer at the end. It's the only reason. So imagine you were in a webinar and you saw a slide like this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like that presenter? Do you like 1 being not at all and 10? If somebody presented information to you like that, how much do you like them? Charlotte says 4. Catherine says 3. Elizabeth says 2. Yeah, you're giving that presenter a really low likability score, aren't you? Yeah. And because of that likability score, are you more likely or less likely to buy? Less. You're all thumbs down, less. Yeah. Because here's the thing, what they did was they got your adrenaline pumping, right? And then you crashed, and then they didn't take you anywhere else. And the stories I told myself when I saw that slide or I was in that presentation were, I'm not growing. I'm not learning anything here. I don't belong here. I'm better than this. And all of those stories affected the safety I felt with that presenter. I was not going to give that presenter any money for any program. I don't care if they were going to teach me how to make $1 million in the next 30 days. I don't trust you to teach me that anymore. So this is another extreme example of ways that presenters overwhelm their audience with information. And again, if it's not moving, you're definitely going to lose the audience's attention. You're going to be taking them on a roller coaster as opposed to taking them on a merry-go-round. And I know the merry-go-round is boring, but when you are a presenter and you're speaking, you need to keep your audience on a merry-go-round versus a roller coaster. It feels boring to you, but it's not to your audience because they haven't seen this information before. This is probably mostly new to them, or the way you're presenting it is new to them. So you want your audience on a merry-go-round. Don't do slides like this. Whatever you do, stop doing slides like that where you're putting all 4 of your topics up there and all your key points. Don't do that anymore. Okay? Yeah. Because again, people need to know, like, and trust you before they invest with you. Right? Well, we have been through a lot. So if you understand this point and know that you've got to create movement in order for your audiences to feel safe, throw a move in the chat. Oh, did I pause this again? There we go. My little movies there. I got to be careful where I click. So you guys get it? You guys picking up what I'm laying down? You know, in fact, one of my students, what she did was after she learned the strategies I taught in audience allure, she went and she hired somebody to go do that for her presentation. She spent like $50. She was like, I didn't know what to ask for before, but now I do. It's vital. So just to review today, we've reviewed visual impact your slides have. We've discussed ways to increase engagement and how to retain the audience's attention by keeping your presentation moving. Who here feels inspired to go up level their slideshows now? Everybody? Beautiful. Here's the thing. Today was just the beginning. In order to market yourself effectively with your slides, you need to take marketing principles and psychology and interweave it with the technology. And I'd love to tell you about Yola. She's been doing slides since high school, and she just did them to have a visual aid. She didn't really put much thought into her slideshow presentations before working with me. And at the time, before we started working together, she would get like 10 to 15 people showing up on her master classes. And at the end, like maybe 1 or 2 people would sign up for her offer. She decided to work, and I'm sorry, and because of that, it would take a long time for her to fill her program. She'd have to run her master classes like 2 or 3 times before she'd get enough people to run her programs. So she decided to work with me, and I took her through the presentation powerhouse process. She was really shocked at everything she learned because she'd been doing it for so long. She was like, I don't know if I'm going to get that much out of it. And she was really surprised at everything that I brought up. And I took her through this presentation powerhouse process. The very first masterclass she did after attending the trainings, she had really amazing results. She had 11 people show up for the masterclass. 6 of them booked calls with her. 5 were brand new, which means all her new people and one of her previous clients all took her up on her offer at the end of the webinar. She also said that it was a totally brand new presentation experience to her because she felt like she was in sync with her slides. She really delivered with confidence and ease. And this has been a game changer for Yola's business. And today she has a presentation she knows she can use time and time again, and it's going to help her convert. Now, maybe you're like Yola and have been doing slides for years, or maybe you're a heart-centered entrepreneur who really just wants to make sure they're making a positive impact on their audience and not falling into those pitfalls of the complaints. How would it feel to you to deliver your presentation flawlessly, smoothly? What would it be like to show up to your webinar knowing that you have a presentation that can convert people? Would it be like having your best friend there who's just there to support you and shine your light and tell everybody how amazing you are? If you're ready to deliver your message to the world, do it with the impact you desire, and get the clients you want, I invite you to consider jumping into the Captivate and Convert Bootcamp. Now, as an entrepreneur, it could be easy to spend $1,000 on ads or $1,000 on a virtual assistant or $1,000 on a weekend webinar or workshop, and all you see is the money going out the door. What's important to remember is when you have an opportunity to invest in something that can give back to you, not just today, but for years to come, because you have the skills and the knowledge to create those presentations that are going to help you convert, it's always a smart decision. And one of the reasons people want to become entrepreneurs is to have flexibility, have time flexibility. Does that resonate with anybody? Yeah. That's why I've created this as an 8-week program. It's delivered live weekly, but you're going to get those replays within 24 hours so that you can implement this whenever it's convenient for you. And with the lifetime access, take as long with the material as you want. Now, maybe you're like me and are watching season 2 of Bridgerton again, or you could postpone that reviewing of your favorite Netflix series and tune into these trainings and turn that into thousands of dollars of income. And nobody here learned to drive a car overnight. You invested the time, the energy, the money to learn how to drive, and you did so with guidance. Maybe somebody showed you how to reverse out of a parking space. Someone showed you how to navigate the gas and the brake. And I know I had to have somebody show me how to parallel park. Now you know how to drive a car. You can drive any car you want, right? Pretty much. These slide programs, doesn't matter if you're using PowerPoint or Canva or Keynote or Google Slides, these are just cars. And once you know how to create those impactful slides, it doesn't matter which program you use. You're going to be able to design presentations that can take your audience anywhere you want them to go. Unlike learning to drive a car, the Captivate and Convert Bootcamp is only 8 weeks. I know it took me a lot longer to learn to drive. In this 8-week training program, we get to meet weekly in a 1-hour session. In that hour, you're not just going to learn new and exciting concepts, you're going to get to ask me questions, and if time allows, get some laser coaching. Replays are going to be sent out in 24 hours. So if you can't make it or it doesn't fit your schedule, no worries. Implement it when it's right for you. And with the lifetime access, you'll get it, you'll have it forever. Your credibility goes up 95% when you have professional looking slides. So in weeks 1 and 2, we work on visual alchemy. This is where we're really going to create the visual foundation of your presentation, weaving together the marketing, the technology, and the psychology to make your audience feel safe and get them to trust you. In weeks 3, we're going to talk, now that we have them feeling safe, we can dial up that likability factor with the right questions and epic engagement. You're going to learn the psychology and the techniques to ask your questions during your slideshow so that we get the audience liking you so that they'll buy from you. And oops, and I forgot to say that according to Harvard Business Study, if you have an interactive presentation, it ups your conversion rates by 30%. Oops. We take a little break week 4. We go into a slide success session to make sure that you're getting the support you need. This is an individual one-on-one to talk about your challenges and get direct feedback on what you need feedback on. Weeks 5, 6, and 7, we deal with audience alert. This is where we really delve into those strategies to keep the audience's attention throughout your presentation. These strategies are going to teach you how to deliver your material systematically, keeping you and your audience out of overwhelm and feeling that ease. And when your audience feels at ease, it's easier for them to say yes when you make your offers. Week 8, we celebrate from training to triumph. We reflect on all the progress you've made, and you get to try out your skills in a safe space so you can really feel secure and confident when you go out and you present your next masterclass. Now, the Captivate and Convert Bootcamp, if I was going to offer these segments individually, it's definitely valued at over $2,500. And when you graduate from this program, you are going to have the skills and the knowledge to create those captivating slides, saving yourself hundreds of hours of time and frustration. I stand in the value of this program because I know it's going to change how many people you convert. But you don't just get the program. I have these amazing bonuses for you. As you've heard before, we have the lifetime access to the training, so you can implement when it's convenient for you or re-watch the trainings whenever you want. You're going to get PDFs of the slides as reference tools, making it really easy for you to find exactly what you're looking for if you're just looking for one specific thing. And you're going to get cheat sheets for the more technical aspects, so it's going to be super simple for you to implement the tools that I teach. And because you've shown up here today, if you decide to jump in the next 24 hours, you are going to get this fabulous VIP session to kickstart your transformation. Now, as I mentioned, the Captivate and Convert Bootcamp is valued at over $2,500. With when you add the program bonuses into that, it brings that value up to over $3,700. However, your price, your investment would be just $997. If you are ready to revolutionize your slides and captivate your audiences so that you can convert them into clients, head on over to the Captivate and Convert registration page. The link should be in the chat. There are 2 investment levels to choose from when you get there, so pick whichever one is better for your budget, because you're not going to want to miss this exclusive opportunity. As Donna Lee says, if you work with presentations, this course is a must. So to reserve your seat in the Captivate and Convert Bootcamp and unlock your full potential as a presenter, head on over to tinyurl.com, captivate-convert, and reserve your spot now. Spots are limited, so you'll want to make sure you get in there as soon as possible and reserve your seat. And it would be an honor for me to serve you and help you create a whole new level of captivating your audiences and have presentation success. So I'd love to open this up for questions. Anybody have any questions? You guys can unmute yourselves if you have questions.
Hey, Steph. How long is the program? Kind of when does it start?
Okay, so it is 8 weeks. We are starting on July 2nd, which is a Tuesday. Again, the program is, each training is 1 hour long. And that hour, again, you're going to learn concepts and techniques. You'll also have a Q&A section. And if time allows, I'll be able to do some laser coaching with you.
Thank you, love.
What time or day of the week?
So right now I am scheduled on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Which is 10 a.m. Pacific. Again, we are going to record everything and you will get a replay. If that time does not work for you, you will get the replay probably later that day, but I want to give myself some time because God forbid technical difficulties. I don't know about all you, but I've been having some technical difficulties later. So that's why I'm like, I will get it to you within 24 hours. That I promise. But you'll probably get it within a couple of hours of the class being taught. And you will not, as I said, you're not just going to get the training, you'll also get the PDFs. And if we worked on if I showed you any technical pieces, you'll get cheat sheets in that email as well.
Thank you.
Hey, Steph, what's the total time commitment for the program in the 8 weeks?
So the trainings are 1 hour long. And I do recommend that you implement the tools and the techniques I'm showing you. You will probably want to spend 30 to 60 minutes playing with each of them. You could probably do it in less time, but I want you to really learn the tools. So an hour and a half to 2 hours each week is probably what is necessary to get the full effect of the program. Of course, unless you're like one of my clients who went off and just hired somebody to do it for. But you probably spent a good 15, 20 minutes creating her ad. Anyone else have any questions? You know, and this program is really designed, it doesn't matter what your skill level is. I'm going to be showing you things to combat those 3 big complaints. The visual impact is huge. And, you know, earlier this year when I was going to a lot of webinars, there were so many different things that I saw presenters doing that would make their audience feel even the slightest bit uncomfortable. And if your audience feels the slightest bit uncomfortable visually, that's when I don't know if I'm going to book. I don't know if I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to invest, right? So this is taking all of those things that I've seen over the years, and I know it works. I know it works. Yola had such amazing results right out of the gate with this program, and she's converted even more people since. So I know that her slides were a huge part of her success so far. And, you know, what is one person in your program paying you? Whatever your programs are, how much are you charging people? If you were even able to convert one person, I'm sure this program would pay for itself. Well, ladies, we are just at 3 p.m. Oh my. And I just want to thank you all so much for being here with me today. If you want to reserve your spot, jump on over to the Captivate and Convert Bootcamp. If you have any other questions and you want to schedule some time to talk it through with me, there's also a link on that page. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording.